Or from what I'm reading, they're talking about TVs and electronics are going to take a jump up to 40%. Well, gee, if you're working at minimum wage in a service-oriented job, and believe me, there's a lot of people out there working minimum wage jobs because they can't find a full-time or a good-paying job. Let's face it. I mean, even people out of college are taking part-time jobs because they can't find a full-time job. Yeah, there's a lot of companies hiring, but look what they're paying. You know, like computer techs and stuff like that, they're getting paid $13 to $15 an hour. That is scary. Try living on it. You can't do it. It's impossible. You know, one of my sons that moved out realized, you know what? A one-bedroom apartment in the Tacoma, Washington area is around $1,200 a month. Then you got utilities on it. And then you got all this other stuff. How can you can't, if you're not making $20, $25 an hour, you really got a problem. And that's what I'm worried about. So the bubble, I think, could burst because, again, you know, back when the housing bubble happened, back then, I was refinancing my house. They didn't even care. And I was working, I was making good money, but they didn't really care if I worked or not. They said they'd give me a loan because they didn't care. And you know, then they swore up and down after we got out of that bubble and things started improving. Well, the banks were going to do that again. They're going to make sure people have jobs and can pay back their loans. But then all of a sudden, it started being the same thing again. They didn't really require much of proof of income. And then they really like reverse mortgages, things like that, which I don't think is a good idea. I really don't. You're better off selling your house and getting an apartment than going in a reverse mortgage if you really do a lot of research. But not just that. I mean, nowadays you're getting flooded with mail, right? Refinance your house, right? Refinance it. We'll give you $100,000, a cash out, or $80,000 cash out. Yeah, well, you know what? I had a friend a while back, that he bought his house at a real good price. And when he sold it, he goes, I made $150,000 profit. So he went out and him and his wife went out and bought a little nicer house. A little nicer, not huge. But it cost them like $300 and some thousand for the new house. Did he make anything? No, it was pretty much a wash. So yeah, I mean, you got to be careful. And that's what I'm really, really worried about right now, that we're in a bubble, with the feds, slightly even raising the interest rates right now. I really think they need to be raised, but right now I'd be holding off with this tariff war going on. It won't take much for it to implode because all the other countries now in Europe and South America are starting to get nervous because they're seeing problems financially because of these tariffs. Not just that, we're also we're making enemies with people we shouldn't be making enemies with. If you go back, I don't think people realize there's certain people out there in politics really don't understand China, their history behind China, their philosophy. If you are brought up a certain way, a different culture, another culture doesn't understand your culture. So you're going to have different wants, desires, and dreams, and you're going to have a different philosophy. So we are now really causing rift between China, Russia, and a few other countries, okay? It's really funny. We can do certain things in our country, right? We can do whatever we do in this country, and if another country objects to it, hey, so what? Okay? Now, if another country decides to do something, then it's a different story. If they threaten us, well, you know what? Oh, we're going to show military force, okay? Yeah, I don't know. That's what is scary. I mean, to go through, like with China, off of their man-made island and, fly over it, run our ships next to it, especially right now with the tariffs, it's causing friction like you wouldn't believe. All it takes is one idiot on either side to do something stupid, like the Chinese destroyer that was tormenting our destroyer by acting like it was going to ram us, or maybe they were trying to ram us because you had maybe a captain that maybe was taking it a little too far. And naturally, China's going to back them up. They're not going to say, oh, we're sorry, he did it on his own. But what I'm saying is things can escalate. And if put it this way, if that Chinese destroyer would have collided with American destroyer, what would have happened? What would be going on right now? Are we prepared to go into a major war, World War III with China, and then maybe Russia? And then, we sit there and tell Russia here several weeks ago that, if you have any weapons that are contraband, we're going to destroy them. Okay? We're going to destroy what they do. Now, can they come back and can Russia say to the United States, well, if you guys got anything contraband, we're going to destroy them? I mean, how would we take that? We would take that as a military threat. I would take that as a threat. If somebody says, we're going to come and destroy whatever weapons you have. Come on, people. I am normally not political, but I am so worried because we got all this friction going on. One problem would be cool, but we got multiple problems. We got four multiple problems going on right now. One in the administration has their thumb up their ass because they are denying Earth changes. Our president says, basically the UN report about Earth changes and climate changes. He wants to know who wrote it, for he can basically debunk that person and say they're full of BS. Well, I'm telling you, look what's going on. Our hurricanes, they're getting more extensive. The winds are getting more powerful. The flooding, look at all the damage it's doing. And Antarctica breaking up. Okay, the sea levels are rising. And not just that, it's going to cool. And seriously, think about this. The water gets warmed up from the equator. It goes like a little line all the way up to Europe, right? That basically is a heating blanket. It keeps Europe from going into a deep freeze. Now, a drop of a couple degrees in that is going to cause chaos. And perfect example, the meteorologists out of UK are saying they expect snow this year, and it's going to be around for about 4 months. It's not going to be warm enough to go away. That hasn't happened since the early 60s. Now, you go back to Russia, the turn of the century, when they went into a deep freeze, people died because they couldn't even heat their own houses because they didn't have enough wood. They tore their paneling off the walls, their flooring off the floor, and burned everything they could burn till they couldn't burn anymore. And then a lot of them they found afterwards were frozen solid in their house because they froze to death. You got to think about all this stuff. So all this water, fresh water, it's melting from these icebergs and from the shelf in Antarctica. It's going to affect Europe. And what happens if Europe starts going into a deep freeze? Where are those people going to go? They got to go somewhere. And then what's it going to do like in our country? I've been reading reports where some parts of our country will get so hot you won't be able to live in, and then other parts of the country it's going to get cold, the heavy flooding, heavy rains, and then we are easing all the things that we have worked 40, 50 years on to help control climate, passing laws, like mercury, radiation, coal, all this stuff, right, are now we got somebody, we got to create jobs. We got to create jobs. Is that more important than, your grandkids having a place to live or even being alive? I don't know. I get really worked up. I've been worked up on this for the last couple of weeks because when I subscribe to a couple of different news services, and they're all saying it. And it's funny, I've been saying this for the past year, and it's only lately now, NBC, CBS, all the major news, Washington Post, you name it, the UN, everybody's starting to say we're almost at the tipping point if we're not past it. You can't go out in the Amazon and log out all the trees and not expect something to happen. You can't keep dumping all this stuff from all the exhaust in the air without something happening. You can't relax about coal. I mean, some of the third world countries, they burn coal. Major pollution. Hey, blame it on cows farting. Okay, well, we don't have to really worry about that because in Antarctica, since it's starting to thaw out, there's a lake there. It's putting out more methane gas than all the cows in the world could put out. This is the type of things we have to worry about. And did we bring it on? No, I don't think we brought it on. I just think we speeded it up a lot. Like riding driving a Model T and going into a new Corvette. I mean, you only had a top speed of 30 miles an hour in the Model T. And then Corvette, up to 160 or whatever miles an hour. That we have really speeded up things. So I don't know. We can all put our finger up our ass and say, hey, it's not happening. Don't worry about it. As jobs, yeah, we need jobs. I think there's a lot of jobs out there. I just think that the way things are being handled are wrong. Tax the poor people. Under the new tax laws, the poor people are the ones. They're the ones that's going to be paying the taxes the most. Maybe I'm not talking about paying out huge amounts, but they're going to be paying more taxes while the rich, are hardly going to pay any taxes at all. I hate to say it. Look at our leader. I mean, I guess from all the news, he's been really good at never paying much of any taxes. I mean, I guess you want to help your friends the same way, right? I mean, what I just don't understand. I think we need to think about our own people, please. I mean, when you think about building a new aircraft carrier, the cost of it, how long would that supplement Social Security or Medicare or helping? They want to do away with the lunches, program for poor people because they feel they don't need it. They want to cut benefits, people on welfare. There's a lot of people, I'll be honest with you, they shouldn't be getting welfare. They should be out working. But then there's some people out there maybe are handicapped or they have some problems, emotional problems where they can't be working or whatever, okay? And we just can't stiff them. And cut Medicare, okay? Let's trim that down for, people have to pay. Hey, if you're living on Social Security and a small pension, come on. You're going to cut what's going to end up happening is people's mouth, their teeth are going to rot. Okay, they'll die from infections. They'll need surgery or medicine. I was reading today about this one guy that he has a problem that copper for some reason builds up on him. And without his medication, he'll die. And the insurance company now refuses to pay for it. They were paying for it when it was $6,000 a month for his medication. Now, $6,000 a month for medication to stay alive. That's crazy. Okay? Somebody is making buku bucks. But now, guess what? It's up to $20-some thousand a month for that same pills he has to take to stay alive. $20,000 a month. The insurance company says, hell no, we're not going to pay that no more. So the poor guy is trying to go to all these specialists and trying to find some way